One more thing about, I don't know if you can get this bar up here. Can you zoom in on that? Okay, so this bar, it kind of shows you exactly what's happening with your control signal. A solid gray bar that doesn't move means you're reading a really good signal. A signal like, you'll see like if it's red like that or whatever, it means that there's something wrong with the connection and it's not reading it 100% cleanly. So well, if you're seeing that happen to the bar, then you want to take a look at your needle, see if it's dirty, your connections to your head shell and tone arm, your RCA wire, maybe that's a little, messed up. And your control records also might be really worn out, and that's why you're seeing that bar inconsistently. Cut. You want to? Right here is a real simple explanation of the different modes that Serato works in. In absolute mode here, all that does is treat the MP3 as if it's on a record for real. So depending on where you drop the needle on the record is where it corresponds to the time in the MP3. So if you drop it onto minute number 2 of the control record, then you're going to be in the second minute of the song. And since time starts at 0, it doesn't start at 1, the first minute on the Serato record, the first band, corresponds to 0 and up to 1 minute, or 59 seconds, and then the second band, or minute number 2 on the record, is actually minute 1 up till minute 2 on the song. So that's, I mean, it's slightly confusing when you're trying to explain it to somebody, but that's how it works. And let me just make an adjustment here to my offset to show you. Okay, so I'm going to load this song again, and when I put it in the beginning of the record, the song doesn't start yet. Okay, and as I skip through, it's as if I have the record on here. And what that means is, it's the most natural feeling when you transition from vinyl to Serato, but it also is the most traditional in the sense that it will skip. If there's a skip in the record, or someone bumps the table, or anything of that nature, if you're scratching too hard, too heavy-handed, when the needle jumps out of position, you're going to be out of position on the song. So it's pretty much the most natural feeling for anyone that's ever used vinyl. So it's an easy way to start transitioning into using Serato. A more advanced mode for vinyl users is called relative, and this is where it gets a lot more fun with the software. Whenever you're playing a song, it's irrelevant as to where the needle is on the record. You could drop the needle on any point on the record, and it will play the song. Okay? It doesn't skip either. So right now if I was on a real record, it would definitely have skipped out by now. But since it's on relative mode, all it means is it's relative to what's happening to the control record. If the control record is playing forward, it plays the song forward. Same thing for backwards. And when you're scratching, whatever is happening to the record, it just applies that to the MP3, no matter what position the needle's at. So the two ways that you can get to a certain point in the song is mousing and clicking to it physically, or you can use this little back button right here. I don't know if you can get that. This little back button here. Right there. Okay. So if I'm here in the middle of the song, I want to get back to the beginning, I just click back here. Back to the beginning, click back. So it's kind of like using a turntable that has CD player functions in it. It's like best of both worlds. And there are shortcuts too to get to the beginning of the song. You can set cue points also for your songs in relative mode, which you cannot use in absolute mode. So these cue points that I've set here correspond to the points that you see here in the waveform. So if I'm playing this song and I want to skip right to that cue point, I just press the play button here. Okay. Same thing with this one. Okay. And they also correspond to numbers on the keypad of the computer. So if I'm playing the song and I have relative mode engaged and cue points, this first cue point for the right turntable is 6, second one is 7, and so on and so forth. 6, 7, 8, 9, 0 are the 5 cue points for the right deck, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the cue points for the left deck. So okay, so that's just an easy way to use the cue points, and either you can use them to do little, live juggles like that if you want to, or if you have a long intro to a song that you never play at actually anywhere, then you can set a cue point to the point where you want it to actually come in, and you can use those as markers the way that we used to use them on real vinyl with stickers and everything. You could use them to positions in a song where you always want to jump to, or if you have somewhat of a routine set up for that particular song, then you can use those markers as reminders of where you want to do certain things in that routine. And they're very helpful. So if you're, once you get comfortable with using the software, once you're comfortable with relative mode, and you can use the cue points to your advantage, tremendously. And they're very easy to set. Just find your place in the record where you want it. Let's say I want another cue point right here. The third one for this song, I'm just going to click on this plus sign, and it adds it right there. Okay. The other option, and if you want to get rid of one, you just click the X. Other option for setting a cue point, it's kind of a shortcut. You can hit Apple and then the number that you want to assign it to. So for this is the third one in the song, so that means I have to apply it to key number 8. So Apple 8, and it sets the cue point right there for me. Okay. So, and it will remember those cue points forever. When I eject the track and load it back again, all 3 cue points are there still. Okay, and I could jump to them. And what else? Oh, the easiest shortcut to load a song instead of dragging it is to use the shift and the arrow keys. Shift right to load it to the right deck, and shift left for the left deck. And those are the main features in absolute and relative mode that you're going to use. There's more advanced features, but if we bombard you with all that information now, then you're just never going to remember it. So we're gonna skip over to internal mode, which does not pay attention to the CD player or turntable that you plug into Serato. It pretty much just treats this as your on-screen CD player. And you have your play buttons here. Fast forward. You can scroll through like that. Okay. All right, and you can set that break to be either really short and non-existent, or you can have a really slow break drag, and that's done here in playback. This breaking, which is labeled internal mode, however you set this break is how slow it is. So you can adjust it and play with that to set it how you want. And your cue points still work in relative mode, so you can there you go. And you have your pitch control here. So an easy way to get back to 0 instead of having to actually grab your pitch and like slide it perfectly to 0. If you're off of 0, just hold down Control and click the pitch, and it'll automatically bring it back to 0. Hold Control and click on the pitch to bring it back to 0 automatically. What else is there? So we're here, we're still talking about internal mode. One of the other functions that's really useful in internal mode is if you have to be on autopilot, you can click this auto button, and when you hit play, it will just load the next song in that playlist that you have up, and it'll load it and just start playing it, until the very end of the playlist. So just for example, when we're at the very end here, as soon as the song runs out, the next song down will get loaded. And so if you're, at a wedding or something, you can just, while you're eating, you can put that on. As long as you have an appropriate playlist set up, then you can use that to your advantage. But definitely take it off if you're not, if you don't need it to be an autopilot, because what will end up happening is you'll have a song playing, you'll mix into the next one, and while you're searching for the next song to play, if you still leave that song playing, the one that you mixed out of, if it's on auto, it'll just automatically load something, and you might, that might kind of mess you up. So take auto off if you need to. If you have a song loaded, you have speed options here. Okay. You have cool options like that. You also have in Serato, I forget exactly what version they started doing this. They have a master tempo. It might have been 1.5 when they added this, or it might have been 1.6. It might have been later. I can't remember. But if you take that off, if it's red, it's engaged, or if it's highlighted, it's engaged. If you take that off, you can hear the pitch change. If you engage it, keeps the original key of the song, whatever it is. So it's like a time compression expansion deal, which is cool. And that you can use that for all the modes, absolute, relative, or internal. What else? Just going to show you how to set a loop real quick in relative mode. So let's go back to the beginning. Now the manual way to skip back to the beginning in relative or internal mode is to skip back. But if you're in the middle and you want to get back to the beginning, you can hit K for the right turntable, I for the left turntable. Those aren't actually what they're designed for. I and K are shortcuts to get back to a temporary cue point that you set, but I never use temporary cue points. I'll just set a permanent one in the 1 through 5 or the 6 through 0 and use those cue points for myself, and leave the temporary cue point as the beginning of the song. So if I hit I or K, it just brings me back to the beginning. So if I want to set a loop, what I have to do is, here's your loop information right here, in, out, and engage or disengage loop. Okay, so if I want a beginning of the loop right here, I get it lined up. Okay, click in and let it go, and then click on out when I want it to come back. Alright, now this might be off because I'm not that great at setting loops yet. So then it will just loop infinitely until I turn it off. Okay, if it's bright green, it means it's engaged. If it's dull green, that means it's disengaged. So if I engage the loop here, then the loop is set and running. And if I want to adjust anything, then I click on, if I want to adjust the endpoint, then I can adjust where I want the endpoint to be. So of course, just for demonstration's sake, I'm going to set it wrong. Okay, but let's say I set it wrong and I want to fix it. Click on in, so it's the only one blinking. If the other two are solid, it means I'm correcting this in loop. Okay, so I want it to start right here. The green field is the loop. Okay, if I want to adjust the out point, same thing, just click on it, and I can adjust where I want it to end. Okay, and then if I want to keep that loop, I just, I don't do anything. I just I don't delete it. And if I want to lock it, then that means I can't just delete it by accident. I have to unlock it to delete it. Okay, and it will always remember that loop as long as I load that MP3. And that's how you set and edit loops. There is no easy way to do it. It's just you got to practice doing it, and you'll definitely get the hang of it after trying it, a handful of times. You'll be fine. It is a lot at first, but as you get used to it, you can do it while in the middle of doing a set in a party. You could just say, oh, you know what, I've never set a loop for this song. Let me just do it now, so I can kind of have my own version of an instrumental for this song, because I don't really have one. And then you could just do all kinds of creative things with it. You could set a loop and then play an acapella from a different song. As soon as the acapella is over, take the loop off and go bang right into another song, or the rest of the song that you're looping. So you can get creative with the loops, and the cue points too allow you to do more creative things. And that brings us to the end of the basic Serato features. And what we're going to have is one of the other DJs in the group, what we're going to do is we're going to have one of the other DJs in the crew come and do some freestyle mixing to show you how they use different options in the software during their sets while they're playing.